What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, Mr. Tad Desai is back with us on the podcast. You know, it was different the last couple episodes, but yeah, glad to have you back, buddy.
Thank you. And how dare you say this welcome without the infamous line, "Hello, boys! I'm back!"
Well, that's your line. That's not my line. And Tad, with you being back, I have a hard-hitting question to you before we start today's episode. With the regular season now over, we now have 4 locked-in teams that will possibly be required to do Hard Knocks next year. So I want to get your opinion as far as who do you think would be the most intriguing
Hold on.
of the 4 teams?
Let me see if I can guess them, because I was actually trying to look this up of like who the possibilities were going to be. Is one the Carolina Panthers?
One of them is the Carolina Panthers, correct?
And I did think they were going to go Patriots, but with the Mayo fire, they can't do a first-year coach.
It's not going to do. Yeah. So those of you who are wondering, teams that are exempt from being forced to participate in Hard Knocks, because you can't volunteer. I don't know why a team would volunteer, but these are the reasons that you can be forced to do Hard Knocks is that if you have appeared on Hard Knocks in the past 10 years, you don't have to do it. If you have a first-year head coach, like Tad said with Gerard Mayo and the New England Patriots, you don't have to do it. And if you reach the playoffs in either of the last 2 seasons, I thought it was the last season, but it's actually the last 2 seasons. So in that case, my Niners are not going to be forced to do it either because they made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So those are the 3 reasons that you are forced that you're exempt from being forced to do it. So yeah, there are 4 teams. Tad are listed the Carolina Panthers.
Saints.
Saints is not one of them.
Wow. Because I forgot they fired Dennis Allen. Yeah, that's right. See, okay, here's the weird loophole. Because they did the in-season Hard Knocks. So does that take them out of the running for the training camp Hard Knocks?
That I'm not sure how that works. Because they did the AFC North, and so it's like I don't know whether that plays a factor.
Well, I was going back a couple years ago, or maybe I'm mixing up with the. Oh, you know what? I'm mixing up with the Amazon thing. I totally just mixed them up. But Arizona Cardinals, are they eligible?
That is not one of them.
Really? Did they make the playoffs 2 years ago?
They did not.
How are they out of the running then? It's probably the in-season. I feel like they did in-season one. Anyway, shit, I'm running out of teams. Seattle's made the playoffs too recently. Oh, fuck me. I guess the Colts could do it.
It is not the Colts.
What? How are we out of the run? Oh, no, we were the first in-season Hard Knocks. That's right. Okay, so that must, knock you out.
I guess the in-season, because then Arizona did it last year, right?
I think so.
Yeah, or 2 years ago, one or the other. But yeah, they did one recently.
No, it can't be the Lions.
It's not the Lions.
Which is weird. Can't be the Packers. No, because they just did Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I give up. This is terrible podcasting.
So yeah, you got the Carolina Panthers, right? So good on you. Sticking with the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons are eligible. The Seattle Seahawks, you actually glossed over. They're actually eligible.
Damn it.
And then the last team is the Tennessee Titans. So
going back to the
original question of those 4 teams, which one do you think would be the most intriguing?
All right, so we got Titans, Falcons, Panthers. What was the 4th one?
Seahawks.
Not the Seahawks. Because it's just like, hey, Geno Smith is going to take us 9-8 again.
Yeah. Especially with firing their OC. So interesting there.
Panthers would be interesting with Bryce Young kind of like hitting his redemption arc early.
Like resurgence at the end. Yeah. Also, you have to give it to Xavier Legette. Like he would be the star.
Oh my God. Yes. I actually didn't even think about that. That is so true. Falcons don't really excite me.
I think the only thing that intrigues me with the Falcons, which would probably be why I'm more interested in that one, is that with Kirk Cousins now being, as of right now, gone, and it's now Michael Penix. So it's like that's the whole factor where it's like him and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and all these young stars. So it's like maybe that's the factor there, but
See, that just sounds kind of boring to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I think of all the four teams are not all that interesting anyways.
Oh, see, as much as I hate to say it, Titans would be fascinating because we get to see their
with them getting the number 1 overall pick. Yeah,
it's either Cam Ward, who will it's going to be interesting to watch him develop, or it's going to be Shador, and God knows, he will be eating that shit up. So I think that'd be kind of interesting. Plus, is it Brian Callahan?
Yes.
I still think he's a very promising coach, the former offensive coordinator at for the Bengals. I don't know. I could see that being kind of interesting. D-Hop, on his way out, is he going to be a Titan next year? I actually don't even know.
D-Hop is a free agent, so I mean, he could go back to the Titans.
If he goes back, exactly, the way out. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Trey Burks, whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, whatever the hell happens.
That is going to be a roster bubble guy where it's former, I can hear Liv Schreiber doing it right now. Former first-round pick. Was it Trey? Which one?
Treylon Burks.
Former first-round pick, Treylon Burks, went from college superstar to now not even sure where his name will be come late August. I kind of may leave a little British there towards the end, but
you did. You definitely did. But yeah, those are the 4 teams that will be required possibly to do Hard Knocks. But yeah, as mentioned, a team can volunteer to do it. I 100% think they won't make any sort of decision until after the draft because I think that Shador Sanders whole factor there will definitely come into play if he does end up going number 1 overall to the Tennessee Titans. Because I think if he gets drafted number 1 overall, I think it's a lock. It's probably going to be the Tennessee Titans. There's no doubt they want that drama there unfolding. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. But Tad, before we get to Hard Knocks, we definitely have to get to the playoffs first because we have our playoff weekend happening on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So we're going to get into all of our predictions for this weekend as well as the rest of the playoffs. But guys, with the NFL playoffs here, that doesn't mean that your betting stops. So why don't you partner with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy? Get in your bets for the NFL playoffs. The NBA All-Star break is going to be happening in about just a month as well. MLB season will be starting in just about 2 months or so as well. So, I mean, guys, a lot of things to be betting on. March Madness is right around the corner, both for the women's as well as the men's college football basketball there. You still got the national title game for college football, so you can be betting on that. So, guys, tons of things out there you can be betting on. Get into the betting with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So, why don't you use our promo code? That promo code is DESAI, DESAI. You can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. You can use the website, very easy to use, very user-friendly there, as well as the apps both on Apple and Android devices. Very user-friendly, very easy to use there as well, guys. So take advantage of that offer. The offer, once again, is DESAI, DESAI. Double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, thanks to our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So,
speaking of upsets, I looked it up because I was like, Liv Schreiber. That's got to be German, Austrian, Hungarian. Upset alert. See, I need a Jim Cramer button. Damn it. Where's our production team? Anyway, been asking that for 3 years. Anyway, he was born in San Francisco.
Let's go. Local guy.
Big time upset. There you go.
Local guy. I like it.
They're known for their somewhat British accents.
Sure. All right, Tad. So we sort of teased it there. We're going to go into all of our playoff predictions for this weekend as well as the rest of the playoffs. I'm very curious to see how this will all play out. Got a lot of interesting matchups this weekend, Tad. So let's start with the Saturday games. Let's go with LAFB's first game here. We got the Los Angeles Chargers, the number 5 seed, traveling to Houston to play the Houston Texans, the number 4 seed. Current line right now for that game, Tad, is the Chargers are the favorite at -3. Over under is set at 42.5. So getting into a little bit of this game, I mean, you look at Houston, a little weak heading into the playoffs. I mean, they just haven't looked as strong the last couple of weeks. Whole season has probably not gone as well as they wanted to. CJ Stroud took a step back. They went 2-2 in their final 4 games, and both of those losses came against current playoff teams as well. Heading into the playoffs, though, the Chargers are actually looking pretty strong. They have a 3-game winning streak. They're looking to get an upset here in the first round. The last 2 victories did come against the Patriots and the Raiders. So, I mean, doesn't say a whole lot there. Where both those teams have nothing to play for, don't have a lot going on there. But I will say that their one loss this season, including those, the one loss that they've had this entire season, along with all the rest of their losses this year, One of them came to the Arizona Cardinals, but all other losses have come to playoff teams as well. So they're sort of like struggling against the stronger teams this year too. This game, I think, will come down, Tad, to who will stop the run and vice versa, who can establish the run. Because the Chargers have allowed the fewest rushing touchdowns in the league, and they've allowed the 14th fewest rushing yards. And the Texans are tied for the 4th fewest rushing touchdowns in the league, and they have allowed the 11th fewest rushing yards. So it's a matter of Joe Mixon versus J.K. Dobbins, who can establish the run there, and then which run defense for the Texans and the Chargers can stop the opposing running back there. So a little bit of quick analysis there, but who do you got in this game?
Sorry, I'm looking it up right now. Isn't Joe Mixon hurt? I think it's Dameon Pierce for the start.
And there you go. That throws another factor into there where it's like whether Dameon Pierce can sort of repeat that performance that he had in week 18. Because he went for like 135 and a touchdown, I think, if I remember correctly.
Either way, it's a two-headed monster. But so here's the interesting thing, actually. So you're racking off all those stats about the Chargers rush defense. I looked it up. This is actually incredible. They had the 7th best pass defense, so their secondary is very good. They've been outperforming their expectations all year. But they had the 26th ranked run defense in terms of yards allowed per game. So they may not be like, I to me, that tells me that they probably did really well against the bad teams and not so hot against the good teams. I didn't look too much into it, but I think I completely agree with you. It all goes through the run game. And I think that's where the Chargers are most vulnerable. And I think that DeMeco Ryans is smart enough to kind of turn up the pressure, understanding if they shut down the run, they're good. Also, fun fact I learned while doing this research. Do you know who led the Texans in sacks this year?
Is it Danielle Hunter?
It is Danielle Hunter.
Nice.
Only 2 Texans finished with above 10 sacks. Can you guess who the other one was?
Because the other one was Will Anderson Jr., right?
Yep. Remember who the Colts got in that draft?
Latu.
Anthony fucking Richardson.
Oh, well, yeah, that too, for sure.
Fucking Ballard's still here. Just wait till we do our offseason predictions.
Ballard and Steichen.
God. Anyway, so I do think that, the Texans will be a little bit more posed. Chargers are a very young team. Most of those guys have never seen the playoffs before. Yeah. Texans do have some experience there, especially DeMeco Ryans, who I believe is on like his 8th straight year making the playoffs.
They had that very impressive win last year against a very hot Cleveland team, which was run by then Joe Flacco. So
exactly. So I think DeMeco Ryans is the more experienced coach, and that experience is going to pay off. So I'm taking the Texans in the upset.
It's interesting that you're saying DeMeco Ryans is the more experienced head coach because, Jim Harbaugh has sort of been there. He's done it. He's coached at the NFL. He's coached at the college level. You have to remember going back to his time in San Francisco in his very first year with the San Francisco 49ers, which I have to remind you was a strike year because they're trying to figure out the CBA deal between the players and the league. So he didn't even have an offseason really to coach up his team and coach up the players that he had there. That was when Alex Smith was still the quarterback. So a lot of people are like, how's he going to adjust to Jim Harbaugh now? What did he do? He took them to the NFC Championship in that game. Next year, obviously, he took them to the Super Bowl as well. So it's like, I think that Jim Harbaugh is one of those guys that he comes in and he makes a difference right away, completely turned around for the Chargers. So I know you're sort of saying that the Houston Texans in an upset, they're the number 4 seed, but I'm actually going with the true upset in the Chargers being the 5 seed. I think they will get the victory here over the Houston Texans.
Who goes off seeding? What's the spread again? The spread is what we're talking about.
-3 for the Chargers. So Chargers are the favorites. Yes, I will say.
So okay, but you're going Chargers?
I'm going Chargers. Yes.
Okay, so we disagree. I will say this. I don't disagree with anything you just said. And there were some tight ones, but this was probably the hardest one to call of all the games.
That's fair. There
was one other one, and that one's pretty obvious, but we'll get to that.
All right. So getting to the second game of the Saturday slate, Ted, we got the number 6 Pittsburgh Steelers going to Baltimore in an AFC North. This is the 3rd time that they'll be battling. They'll be playing the Baltimore Ravens, the number 3 seed. Current line in that game, Ted, are the Ravens are a heavy favorite at -9.5. Over under is set at 43.5. So speaking of the Houston Texans sort of limping into the playoffs and not being a strong team, I think the only team that might be worse than the Texans probably say would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Pittsburgh is currently riding a 4-game losing streak. Some may argue that maybe they shouldn't have even been a playoff team. Cincinnati was red hot towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, they suffered a very slow start to the season, which is why that they're not in the playoffs right now. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase were absolutely, unstoppable during those last few weeks. Pittsburgh has failed to score 20 or more points in those 4 losses that they suffered at the end of the season as well. Whereas you look at the flip side, this is why I think Baltimore is a heavy favorite right now. Baltimore is riding a 4-game winning streak, and they have scored over 30 points, Ted, in every single victory in those wins as well. Lamar Jackson seems to have taken his play to another level. He is aiming for another MVP award. You add Derrick Henry in the offseason. He has been looking like just making this offense just that much more tougher to stop. These teams split in the regular season, but just a couple weeks ago, Tad, they played each other. The Steelers lost big to the Ravens. They lost 34-17. If you go back to their first matchup back in week 11, the final score was 18-16, a lot closer. Steelers came ahead in that game. But yeah, this game, I don't see it being particularly close. I'm not even going to tease it to give my pick later. I'm 100% going with the Baltimore Ravens here.
Yeah, I agree. And in case people were wondering what I was doing, look at my phone while you were talking, I did a weather check. So It was funny because when I did my research for this last night, the forecast was saying snow on Sunday. Today, they moved it up to Saturday. So either way, it's going to be a rough weather weekend there in Baltimore. And how about this first set? So like you said, the Steelers have lost 4 straight games coming into the playoffs. Yep. In 3 of those 4 games, they let the other team rush for over 100 yards. And 3 out of the 4 games.
That's not good.
That's really, especially because, like I said, rough weather game. Zay Flowers is confirmed to be out for at least this game, probably the next few. I think they're going to lean heavy on the run game, which is like you said, red hot right now. Steelers can't really stop the run all that well. And I know what people are going to be saying is like, hey, man, with that X factor that is TJ Watt, that is not TJ Watt. That is Frankenstein's monster.
TJ Watt is also kind of hurt. He's a little gimpy heading into this game too, so that's part of it too.
That's my whole point. Is like he is so hurt. It's not even a little hurt. He is so hurt. That's the Frankenstein monster. It's like they're just like connecting other people's body parts. Like when the player tears an ACL, it's like have my knee. I don't know where the Steelers are doing it, but they're getting him body parts and just throwing it up there because that dude is a shell of himself. He's still so good.
Still very, very good. So I'm assuming you're taking the Ravens in this game as well.
Yeah, I got Ravens. Yeah. I what's the spread again?
9.5 as the last I saw.
Honestly, I don't hate the Steelers plus 9.5 though. It's a divisional game. Those are you always love to say divisional games that they get wacky.
Especially a divisional playoff game now. That just adds extra pressure. You also have to remember, Ted, that if you flash back, I can't remember how long ago it was. I want to say it was like at least maybe a month ago. The Browns and the Steelers played on Thursday Night Football. Remember there was that torrential snowstorm? And who won that game? Do you remember who won that game?
Yeah, it was the Browns.
The Browns won that game. Yeah, exactly. Jameis Winston actually was able to air it out quite a little bit. The Steelers were just struggling that entire game to move the ball at all. So if that plays a factor, like I said, the snow there in Baltimore, maybe that will affect them again here in this game too. But yeah, I very much like the Ravens to easily control this contest from the start.
No, that's crazy about that Browns thing. I forgot about that. But you know what's even crazier? I mean, the only thing that could possibly be crazier when it comes to divisional matchups is, I don't know, losing to the Cardinals or something.
Yeah, it did happen. Yeah, but lest we speak of that, it's probably better.
It's okay. Thank God I was not on the episode after that Colts loss to the Giants because, whoo, you guys think you've seen me rant before.
Yeah. Had a chance at the playoffs, and then, for some reason, you decided to let Drew Lock and the Giants beat you. So that was quite interesting.
Not even just beat, just a beat down.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Let's move on.
God damn it.
So those are the 2 games that we have on Saturday. We only have a doubleheader on Saturday, but on Sunday, that is where we got our triple header. So we're going to kick it off in the morning with the number 7 seed Denver Broncos traveling to play the very hot number 2 seed Buffalo Bills. Current spread right now is -8.5 in favor of the Buffalo Bills. Over under is set at 46.5. So Denver is coming to the playoffs pretty hot. I mean, they just blew out the Chiefs team. I know the Chiefs were resting all their starters. It doesn't say much, but it's still impressive when you could pitch a shutout against any team in the NFL, regardless of who's playing and who's not playing. The tough thing, though, like I said, they're playing the Buffalo Bills, probably one of the stronger teams in the AFC, probably going to give a strong fight, to get to the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously being the number 1 seed. Talked about Lamar Jackson being in contention for the MVP award. You look at Josh Allen, he's probably the other contender for that MVP award this year. He's playing probably the best football in his career, without that sort of main guy on the outside there with Stephon Diggs. He's looking to spread the ball a lot more. He had that famous 6-touchdown game a couple of weeks ago. So it's like this guy is playing on a different level, really is trying to exercise some playoff demons from past years. But look at the other side. Rookie Bo Nix has been very impressive, Tad. I mean, a lot of people are saying that Jayden Daniels is the front runner to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, but I think comes Bo Nix.
No, don't.
In comes Bo Nix. He's been just as impressive. He's got very similar stats as well. So, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting race to see which direction that they go to. I think most likely it's still going to go in Jayden Daniels' direction because he's had more exciting wins. But, I mean, you can't fault anything that Bo Nix has done. He's definitely taken this team completely 180 from what they were doing with Russell Wilson last year. So it's like this is a very good turnaround, very much a lot of optimism surrounding Denver. But just, to run into a buzzsaw that is the Buffalo Bills in the first round, it's not going to be a very pretty game, I don't think. We'll see how this all plays out there. But Denver's defense has been solid all year. That's another reason why they were able to get the number 7 seed in the playoffs there. But trying to stop Josh Allen and this quote-unquote starless offense, that's going to be another thing. They're going to have to play pretty much mistake-free football if they want to be at least in contention to win this game. Bo Nix also has to play, mistake-free football. Remember, we had that game, I think, a couple weeks ago where he threw, 4 interceptions in that game, if I remember correctly? It might have been at least 3. But just he didn't look like his normal self. And so, he needs to play his best game. The Denver defense has to play their best game. But, I still like Buffalo to come away with this one pretty easily.
Hey, Amar. How does a demon work out?
How does a demon work out?
It exercises.
That was not bad. I like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, what were we talking about again?
Who do you got between the Bills and the Broncos?
Oh, yeah, right. Bills. I just like as much as, and I'm telling you, God must be like looking down on Bills fans right now because I'm not even joking. Forecast for Buffalo: snow today. Snow tomorrow on Saturday, nothing on Sunday, snow again on Monday.
There you go.
So maybe conditions actually won't be that bad. But the thing that really stuck out to me was when I was looking over the Broncos schedule, they've only beaten one team that made the playoffs this year. Can you name that team?
Buffalo's only been one team in the playoffs this
year? Denver's only beaten one team that is currently in the playoffs in the regular season.
Is it Houston?
It's not Houston.
Okay.
Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay. Okay.
Arguably one of the weaker playoff teams out there. Look, Buffalo's offense is historically hot right now because I don't know if you heard this little snippet on Red Zone. They're the first team in NFL history. I'm surprised this has never happened before to score or pass for 30 touchdowns and also rush for 30 touchdowns.
Wow. Okay.
So historically good offense. Like you said, hot streak. Pretty inexperienced Denver offense. Denver, the team is heading in the right way, but this was like the worst possible matchup you could have gotten.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough one for them. Very tough for Bo Nix to make any sort of more surprises.
Bills, Bengals, damn it!
Could have had Bills Bengals. That would have been very exciting. But we do have Nix versus Allen this weekend. But I'm assuming you're going Bills in this game as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. To close out, I think we got 2 more games this weekend. As far as Sunday, we got some good games as well. So after that, Buffalo Bills and Denver Broncos game may not be as exciting. I think the middle game is probably going to be the most exciting game for me, at least on the Sunday slate. That is the number 7 Green Bay Packers playing against the number 2 Philadelphia Eagles. The current spread in that game is the Eagles are the favorites by -4.5. Over under is set at 45.5. Now you look at a 7 and a 2 seed, you're like, why is this the most interesting game for you? Both quarterbacks may not play this weekend because Jordan Love is dealing with an elbow injury pretty much all of practice week. He's been very limited this week. And then Jalen Hurts, it's he's on track to play, but he is still dealing with concussion symptoms that kept him out of that week 18 game. They had nothing to play for anyways, but just like he is still dealing with concussion symptoms they suffered back in week 17. So that is very dicey as far as whether he's going to be fully ready to go come that Sunday playoff game, whether he's going to be able to play the entire game. That's who knows about that.
But confirmed by ESPN 2 hours ago. He cleared protocol. He is good to go.
Yeah, but it's like still very just, interesting the fact that it's like he suffered that concussion 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's still dealing with it this entire week too. So it's like, yeah, you deal with a very mobile quarterback too. So it's just like you wonder if he gets another hit, whether he's going to keep him out the rest of that game. That's going to play a big factor there. So that's why it's very interesting. You also heard that, no surprise, Christian Watson injured himself again. He is not going to play at all during this playoffs.
Why were they playing their starters?
I really don't know. It is unfortunate. We don't want to wish ill will on anybody. He tore his ACL. So yeah, his recovery time for next year may be a little bit hampered as well. But just, we've talked about it on the podcast so many times already. Just that guy's just worst ability is his availability. He's just never there on the field. But yeah, so it's like you've got a situation there where it's like Jordan Love is gimpy. Jalen Hurts is maybe a little bit gimpy as well. But it's like both teams, though, even if both quarterbacks play well or don't play well, amazing running games for both teams, Tab, because you got the Green Bay Packers led by Josh Jacobs, very solid year in his first year in Green Bay. And then obviously Saquon Barkley had an amazing year, which really quick question, Tad, do you think he should have gone for the record in week 18?
Yes. I think leave it up to the player. Like if
I 100%
he's like,
agree with that.
Yeah. If he's like, no, like let's, if he wants to be the team player guy, by all means, that's your call. If you say, no, coach, like pull a Cam Ward, by the way. I missed that whole controversy, but pull a Cam Ward, get that 100 yards, then just sit out the second half. Who cares?
Yeah, it was only 100 yards. It was against the team that let you go.
And I think that also would have been great.
I think the biggest factor for me is that in a time where the league is shifting to being more pass friendly and running backs are sort of getting phased out of the offense, this record may be around for a while. And so it's like for you to be this close and you're not going to go for it, that's the thing that's like, I don't know if he's ever going to be in a situation to sort of get to that record or anybody else will get to the situation, right? It's like, it's one of those seasons where it's like everything came together. He looked amazing. Like I said, against his former team, I was like, that was like the perfect cherry on top of the sundae for him in his first year in Philadelphia. But, it is what it is. He did not go for the record there.
So speaking of Saquon, real quick, last little detour.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but NFL Red Zone, when they signed off, put up their top 5 plays of the season.
Okay.
What would you rank? Okay, so 1 and 2 in no particular order were the Jayden Daniels Hail Mary.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And then Saquon's like reverse hurdle. Yeah. Which one would you put as number 1?
The Jayden Daniels Hail Mary.
Thank you. Saquon made number 1. I was just like, yeah, that was really cool. But that Hail Mary.
It was pretty impressive, that Hail Mary. I think the biggest thing, and then just one more quick detour too, is like, I think we brought this up on the podcast before, but it's like, I remember the Madden game after that happened, they implemented that hurdle into the game. And there's like, Twitter was absolutely roasting EA. They're just like, okay, you're going to add this, but you're not going to fix your simple cover 2 defenses or teach the offensive line to block better.
Oh my God, the damn offensive line.
Yeah. So just like, yeah, that's
quarterback take a hit without losing the ball.
I know. Exactly. So yeah, it's just so surprising. But anyways, going back to this game, to the Eagles and the Packers, both defenses are also very solid too, because they have allowed the fewest yards in the NFL. The Eagles are ranked second in fewest points per game as well. Packers allowed the 6th fewest points per game in the NFL as well. So it's like, yeah, this is going to be a very defensive heavy game. You wonder about the running game. It's going to be a very old school type of game. These teams did play in the regular season, Ted. You have to go all the way back to week 1 of the NFL season. They played in Brazil in a neutral site game. You have to remember there's all that slippage. A lot of people were changing cleats every so often. It was a very sloppy game, but yeah, the Eagles came away with the victory in that game. They won 34-29 in a high scoring affair. The game also featured 17 total penalties, and the Eagles won despite having 3 turnovers compared to the Packers only having 1. So this one was a lot tougher for me to go, but I can pass it to you here first. Who do you like, the Eagles or the Packers?
I think, and I'm so glad you brought up the fact that the Packers defense is one of the more underrated defenses in the playoffs, because I feel like no one's been talking about it. It's all been, the offense and what's going well, what's not. First off, I think that offense is going to be fine without Christian Watson. It's definitely a loss. Don't get me wrong, but none of those guys are like truly like, oh my God, no. They're all pretty replaceable, as cold-hearted as it sounds. But I think the Packers really have what it takes to cause the Eagles some real problems. And the way to do that is, as you pointed out, put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hand, which I know is easier said than done. Like, oh, all we need to do is shut down Saquon Barkley. Thank you. Thank you so much. We did not know that. But if they not even shut him down, but they can just contain him and, 5 yards instead of the occasional 20, 30-yard run, then they're going to have to eventually start passing with Jalen Hurts, who has missed, I'm going to go ahead and call it 3 games, because he left, the second quarter against the Commanders? So practically 3 games. You come back from that. That's not as easy as it sounds to come back, especially in a playoff environment. I'll give you a perfect example. They asked Dan Campbell right before the Sunday night game, which was week 17, hey, this doesn't matter. It's next week's game that matters. And he was like, yeah, I know. And they were like, all right, so are you resting his starters? He said no, because he didn't want to interrupt that flow, that rhythm you get. Jalen Hurts hasn't seen a playing field again in almost a month.
It's true. It's very true.
Yes, I understand the Packers are now without Jair Alexander, which that's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to that. But let's not forget, he's not like the lifeblood of that defense this year. Xavier McKinney is. That's that. By the way, that guy should get at least one depot vote, and he's not going to get a single one.
The linebacker Edgerrin Cooper has been playing very, very, very well the last couple of weeks.
I was speaking of underrated linebackers, I was cracking up. I was reading a mock draft a couple days ago, and the guy was like, Zaire Franklin is just terrible for the Colts. Zaire Franklin was just named All-Pro this morning. Yeah, moron. Yeah. But anyway, so I actually, you know what? I think it'll be tight. I definitely think both quarterbacks are going to play. Jalen Hurts, like I said, clear protocol.
It's a playoff game. They're going to play.
I think the Packers are just being very coy with it, trying to be like, oh, it's just okay, whatever. So yeah, I'm going to call it a gut feeling. I'm taking the Packers upset.
Okay, I like it. I can't fault you there, because like I said, I think this could go either way. I think they're both a lot more closely as far as team structure and how close this game is going to be. I think that's playing more of a factor than the seeding there. I still like the favorite there. I'm going with the Eagles there. I don't know if they're going to win by 4.5. So yeah, if you're a betting man, I may go Packers plus 4.5. Like, I think it'd be a close game. Jake Elliott maybe getting the last second field goal, maybe put them over the top there. But yeah, I think this is going to be very back and forth. I don't think it'll be as high scoring as their week 1 game. I think you kind of have to throw that one out the window. I think it'll be a lot more, lots of running, lots of obviously strong defense. It's going to go back and forth there. So, but I still like the Eagles to sort of edge this one out to go on to the next round there. So, Tad, we got one more game on that Sunday slate. We got the number 6 Washington Commanders playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the number 3 seed in Tampa Bay. The current line there is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the favorites at -3. Over under is set at 49.5. So they're predicting a high score in this one. So Bo Nix will be joined by Jayden Daniels as the only rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs this year. Both are vying, as mentioned, for that Offensive Rookie of the Year award. This could be like, I understand why that over under set 49.5. I think both of these offenses are very good. But on the flip side, Tad, both of these offenses are absolutely terrible. So I think that's why we're going to see a lot of scoring in this game. Both defenses have flashed at times. You have to remember that the Buccaneers, they threw up that fantastic game against the Chargers. The Chargers could do nothing against them, and they dropped, I think, 40 points on them, or maybe even 50 points. I can't remember there. And I think Washington has had some times where their defenses look absolutely great too. But overall, both defenses pretty mediocre. Both offenses, though, have been looking very, very strong there. So you got Jayden Daniels, you got Baker Mayfield having such a sensational season. Both teams ranked in the top 5 in points in the NFL, Tad. Tampa Bay is ranked at 4th in most points scored on offense. Washington is number 5 there. Washington has had their share of impressive wins, Tad. We already talked about that Hail Mary win. We had that last-second win by Jayden Daniels against the Philadelphia Eagles a couple of weeks ago that you talked about, where he got that last touchdown there. They'll need more magic to get this first-round victory in the playoffs, though, because, yeah, the biggest factor that I think could sway in Tampa Bay's direction is they have more of an established running game compared to Washington. Now, you're going to argue with me. You're going to be like, Jayden Daniels is a fantastic dual-threat quarterback. Yeah, but to quote Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend, because Brian Robinson Jr. has been
impressions are bad. Okay.
Absolutely not existed in the running game this year. He's had a few games where he's looked good, but overall just not the same guy that we were expecting him to be in this new look offense under Cliff Kingsbury. So yeah, it's pretty much just all Jayden Daniels on the ground. Austin Eckler is still out. He's not going to play this game either.
Got hurt again?
I don't know if he got hurt again, but yeah.
No, because he came back from his concussion. They were making a big deal of that.
Yeah, but he's not going to play this weekend. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing because you look at Tampa Bay, they got Rachaad White, they got the sensational rookie Bucky Irving. He's been fantastic for them as well. I think Washington will be able to run the ball. Jayden Daniels, he's going to have to put the team on his back. But overall, I think Tampa Bay just has a little bit more firepower on their side. We're obviously going to be looking forward to the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore battle that we got going on this weekend too. So that'll be fun too. Tampa Bay has allowed the 4th most passing yards in the league. So, I mean, yeah, that's going to be a big factor there as far as whether Jayden Daniels can establish the pass there as well as the run there. But I like Tampa Bay in this game because I think I like their running game to be established a little bit more, to give a little bit more balance to the offense compared to Washington. So, yeah, I go to Tampa Bay.
Fact check, my friend.
What do you got?
Austin Eckler is indeed playing.
Okay, there you go.
There's nothing I can find about him being injured. Is actually the opposite. On Washington's website, there is an article titled "Big Changes for Offense versus Bucks" with a giant picture of Austin Eckler.
There you go. All right. Well, that's still, it doesn't impress me enough compared to Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, though.
Here's is Rachaad White even really still a big part of this offense? Because he only gets 2 or 3 carries a game, and he's used as a receiving relief pitcher pretty much for Bucky Irving. So really, you're just banking on that he's going to turn one of those catches into a long reception, which he is good at, admittedly.
But I think the bigger thing as to why I like Rachaad White and Bucky Irving over Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler is that if Brian Robinson gets hurt, I don't trust Austin Eckler in the offense. Whereas if Bucky Irving gets hurt, I still trust Rachaad White to sort of take that same load bearing that Bucky Irving was doing and still be just as effective, because we've seen it during the season. Whereas with Austin Eckler, it's been not the same. So that's why I think I side more with Irving and White compared to Eckler and Robinson Jr.
And that's fair. Here's my thing is, like you said, well, you misspoke, but on the flip side, both defenses, you said offenses, are bad, are terrible. And it just comes down to which one is least terrible. And I will give you 2 points why I think Washington's defense has the nod. 1, better defensive line. That's just my opinion. But 2 is you look at what the Buccaneers did last week. I am worried. That was a rough looking win over the Saints. That was a win that really felt like a loss.
That's true. That's very true.
I think that if Tampa Bay's offense falters even a little bit, Washington has enough manpower against a bad defense to make them, it's like when you're playing game Madden and neither one of your, you or your friend can play any defense, and you just know it's like whoever gets the ball last is going to win this.
Exactly.
It's going to be that type of game. Over under 49?
49.5. Yes.
They'll hit that by half.
Think so. Okay. Wow. It's very likely. It's very likely because, both these defenses have been very bad this entire year, but both their offenses have been looking really good. So do you like Tampa Bay or Washington?
I'm going to go Washington. I think Jayden Daniels is going to overpower that defense.
All right. Very interesting. We'll see how this plays. And the last note about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers specifically, you brought up the Buffalo Bills being the first team in NFL history to have 30 rushing touchdowns and 30 passing touchdowns. Tristan Wirfs of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the first player in NFL history to make a All-Pro at the right tackle position as well as the left tackle position.
How about that?
Yeah. Niners gave away a draft pick, so then they could select Tristan Wirfs, and who did we draft? Javon Kinlaw, who's no longer with the team. So,
is he a Jet now?
Yeah, but is he doing all that well with the Jets either?
Or is any Jet doing all that well?
Sauce Gardner, although you did have a very disappointing
year.
He
had a bad year this year. Yeah, he was rough. Speaking of sophomore slumps.
All right, Tad, let's get to the final game of the weekend slate here. This is a Monday night game. We got the Minnesota Vikings, the number 5 seed, which is unfortunate. I brought this up before, Tad, but just they need to rework the seeding because Minnesota should not be a 5 seed. I'm sorry. They should not be a 5 seed.
God, that Detroit game was awesome.
It was a very good game. But yeah, so we got the Minnesota Vikings, the number 5 seed, traveling to play the Los Angeles Rams, the number 4 seed. Now, I want to correct something here that this normally would be a home game, but unfortunately, with all the fires that are happening in LA and the Palisades area, this game has been moved to Arizona. So they'll be playing in Glendale in the home of the Arizona Cardinals. So it'll be sort of a neutral site game. So yeah, this will not be a true home game for the Los Angeles Rams. This is the closest game, Tad, as far as the spread. The spread right now is the Vikings are favored by 1. It is -1.
Money line. It's a money line spread. I hate when they do that.
But it's interesting
especially if it's 2.5. That's when you're really being an asshole. That's like the person who bids like $1 up on Price is Right. Like, so technically you can do it, but don't be a dick.
Yeah, but this is also interesting, though, because, Tad, the over-under is set at 48. So they're expecting a little bit of offensive firepower on both sides there. So, yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. But as mentioned, due to the wildfires happening in Southern California, this game is going to be played in Arizona, in Glendale, the home of the Arizona Cardinals. Regardless of that, though, you wonder if the Detroit Lions gave the Rams the blueprint as far as how to beat Minnesota. Because if you look at that game, Ted, that you just brought up, they were able to pressure Sam Darnold, put him in a lot of bad situations. They didn't score a single red zone touchdown, even though they had multiple opportunities to do that. Sam Darnold was just, he just remember that famous quote that he had with the New York Jets where he said, I'm seeing ghosts out there? A lot of people
that did come to mind while I was watching
after that game as well, where it's just like, there's a lot of times where we're watching a bunch of the highlights where it's like he had guys wide open, but for some reason he was locked in on Justin Jefferson or he's locked in on a different receiver and he wasn't looking at the entire field. So yeah, maybe he was seeing ghosts out there. I don't know what it was, but just, you wonder with that Rams defense, very young and upcoming, 2 solid rookies in Braden Fisk and Jared Verse having sensational seasons.
Cameron Kitchens, dude, that guy has like
Cameron Kitchens on the backside, but I'm just talking about like pressure itself. That's mainly what I'm focusing on here. It's like they were able to get good pressure. You obviously look at Kobe Turner, who was a defensive rookie of the year nomination last year. So it's like they got a lot of good pressure guys that maybe if they use what Detroit did in that final game of the season, they may be able to put Minnesota in a bad situation as well, and they'll be able to put themselves ahead as far as possibly coming away with the victory here. Because besides a fluke game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, this is where you sort of side with Minnesota as to why that over-under set at 48. Minnesota has scored 20 points or more in every game this season, with the exception of that Lions game where they only scored 9 points, which was their lowest output of the entire regular season. Like I said, Rams boast a very young and tough defense, but their offense, Tad, has been very hot and cold. There are times where they look absolutely sensational, but there are times where just like they can struggle to do anything. I remember of that Thursday night game between the Niners and the Rams where the final score was 9-6. If I remember correctly, it was all field goals. So it's just like,
I did not watch a second of that. I think we were recording that. Or no, we weren't.
No, you're gone.
I think I was traveling for that game, but either way, that's exactly what it was. I was on a plane for half of it, but yeah, that was one of those scores I looked. I was like, oh, great. I didn't.
It was not worth watching unless you're a Niners fan or a Rams fan for sure. But over the course of the last 4 games, Ted, the Rams have allowed 13.5 points per game, which is very good. But on the flip side, they've only scored 17.25 points per game. So it's like you look at that. That's the last 4 games. If you go back 5 weeks, you had that high-scoring affair where they played the Buffalo Bills. They scored 40-plus points, but they also allowed 40-plus points. So like I said, it's very – I don't know what type of Rams team you're going to get this weekend as far as whether their offense is going to be clicking or whether they're going to be out of sync. This defense will hopefully be able to sort of keep them in the game because that is the factor to keep Minnesota off the board there. Because if Minnesota takes that as sort of like bulletin board material after how bad they lost against Detroit, that's like, we need to play a lot better than this. Then, yeah, that's a bad sign for the Los Angeles Rams there. Yeah, too excited there. Vikings defense, I think, needs to rebound as well because, yeah, they've allowed 26 points per game in their last 3 games as well. So, yeah, their defense has not been as sharp, which is part of the reason as to why they had such a fantastic season this year. It's not just all been Sam Darnold. That defense has been playing very well as well. So this one was very tough to pick, but I'm going with, even though they're favored by only 1 point, sort of like a push pick, but I'm going with the sort of quote-unquote upset in the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to the Rams.
You homer. So, well,
that is true. I did pick both LA teams, but I still like both of them to win, though.
What's a cow's favorite occupation?
I don't know.
The movers.
How does that joke relate? I don't even understand.
When you said that it got moved to Arizona, it's just moved. Like,
wow. Okay.
Movers. I'll be here all week. Anyway, yeah, I mean, earlier when I said,
will you be here all week?
Probably not. This was a very close second of hardest game to pick.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I could see it going either way, but I'm actually going to pick Minnesota to win this because there's one big difference maker Minnesota has. Do you want to guess who it is?
I'm guessing it's Jay Jett. It's Justin Jefferson.
No.
Oh, okay. Then I don't know.
You got 2 more guesses.
Aaron Jones?
Nope. Aaron Jones.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
Man, you gotta expand your mind. You're stuck between the sidelines. Who is on the other side of those sidelines? The coaches. And God damn it, Brian Flores, you may be a dick to young quarterbacks, but you can coach the hell out of a defense. And I think he will be the big time difference maker. Because like you said, this Rams offense, very unpredictable, very hard to understand like what Stafford or what Cup, if Cup even plays, we're going to get. And I think that Brian Flores, with all these like massive blitz packages, I don't know if you saw this, but he fooled Tony Romo. I don't know if that was last week or 2 weeks ago. That was great. Romo's like, they're all blitzing, and like 6 of them drop back. But I think Flores' coaching that defense will be the ultimate difference maker in the game. And also, I'm going to actually go a different take on this Lions thing. Because, and the athletes will never claim this is true. But when a team is like 13-1, and then you lose one, and you're like, you know what? I'm actually not upset we lost that because we need to like ground ourselves again. Because they do get lackadaisical. So I think that actually the Lions' defeat will be a wake-up call for Minnesota.
That's
like,
fair.
look, we had a great season. I think we were coasting a bit. We took it for granted. We're awake. We're up. It's playoff time. Let's get going. I'm taking the Vikings.
That's fair. I think I can't fault you there because, I think this might be one of the closer games of the entire weekend for sure. So, I agree with you.
Poor Matt Stafford is going to get so beat up.
There's a good chance. We'll see about that for sure. All right, Ted. So that's this weekend's game, but let's really quickly go through the rest of the playoffs as well. So as we get to the divisional round here, so I'm going to go through my picks here. So I had the Chargers getting the victory there over the Houston Texans. So they will play the Kansas City Chiefs, the number 1 seed in the next round. Then I got the Baltimore Ravens, who got the victory over the Steelers. They'll play the Buffalo Bills, who were able to beat the Denver Broncos. So on the AFC side, I'm going with the Harbaugh luck here. I got the Chargers in an upset over the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is purely for the fact that this is a reason that you brought up earlier where you're like, Jalen Hurts has not seen the field in 3 weeks or so. That you can say the same thing about the entire Kansas City Chiefs team because they did not play at all in that Week 18 game. They played in that Week 17 game, but it's like they have gone a long time without playing football, and I think that may affect the rhythm and flow of this team. It's like I know their experience. They've obviously back-to-back Super Bowl winners. Excuse me. So it's like that says a lot as far as their playoff experience, but it still does not affect the fact that it's hard to replicate playing a game versus doing practice. And so, I think that's going to play a factor. Harbaugh's going to have this team ready to go. They're going to play strong on defense. They're going to be able to stop this Kansas City Chiefs team.
So two things really. Thank you for bringing up the Chiefs bench thing because I forgot. Denver Bronco fans are going to start screaming at me like, we beat 2 playoff teams, the Bucks and the Chiefs. No. You beat the Chiefs JV.
Exactly.
Get out of here with that. Freaking Denver. But I will say normally I'd write that off of like, come on, that's not bad. Let's look at what just happened in college football playoffs. Top 4 seeds got knocked off?
Every single team that had a bye week, they all lost.
Because they didn't play football for like a month.
Exactly.
So I know there's actually, you know what, maybe some truth to it. And another thing you need to look out for, like half the Chiefs offensive line is like all pro. The other half is terrible. Patrick Mahomes has been on the run a lot this year. And that Chargers defensive line has had like a renaissance with Bosa and Khalil Mack. All of a sudden, he's back. So it would be surprising, but I can see the logic in it.
Yeah. So I got the Chargers in an upset there between Baltimore and Buffalo. I think Buffalo, like I said, they're trying to, as I brought up earlier, exercise some demons. So I think they'll get the victory over Baltimore. Unfortunately, stop Baltimore's season there. So I got the Bills and the Chargers playing the AFC title game. I'm going to shift to the NFC side there. I got the Rams beating the Vikings, obviously. So they will play the Detroit Lions in the first seed, but I think this is not going to be a close contest. I think the Detroit Lions, they played all their guys in that final game, obviously, because they had to, but they're more of a rhythm like we talked about earlier. I think they'll be able to come out with a victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia. I have to remember last year, Ted, that Tampa Bay played Philadelphia and they absolutely stomped all over them, but it was not the same Philadelphia team that we're seeing this year. I think they're going to be able to avenge themselves. That's the word I was looking for there, and they'll be able to get a victory there. So we got the Lions and the Eagles on the NFC title side. I got the Bills overcoming the Chargers to go to the AFC side of the Super Bowl, and I got the Lions overcoming the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl for them. And to win the Super Bowl, though, I got the Buffalo Bills exercising all Super Bowl demons and coming away with the victory over the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions fall just a little bit short once again.
That would be the easiest Super Bowl to watch ever.
Oh, yeah. 100%,
like
100%.
Whichever team wins, good. Like,
exactly.
You both deserve this. That's the dream matchup right
there. It's like that World Series from 2016 where it's between Cleveland and Chicago, where it's like, for me, as as an A's and / Bay Area baseball fan, it was like, I don't care who wins. Whoever wins, it's like you're exercising a lot of demons there. Where it's just like, dude, you deserve it. It's fine.
Even as a Cardinals fan, I was like, you know what? A century is long enough. You've earned it at this point. Like, I didn't even mind. Of course, I was cheering for Cleveland, but
Buffalo, Detroit, that would be like the best Super Bowl for me. That would be
a dream. So it's actually funny because I have kind of like a opposite narrative being set up in my picks. So I'm 90% sure I did the seating right. You'll have to double check me. I assume we're going to do graphics. So if I mess any of it up, sorry.
Okay.
So in the divisional round, I have the Green Bay Packers going against NFC North rival, the Detroit Lions. I think, like we talked about, the divisional games can get a little wacky. I think the Packers could keep it close. However, the Lions, just the better team. So I'm going Lions, the NFC Championship. Commanders at Vikings. I love Jayden Daniels. I love this Commanders team. I think, like I said, this Vikings team is going to be right back to where they were. That Detroit game was a fluke. I think Minnesota handles Commanders pretty solidly. Okay. Then I got Texans at Chiefs. That was pretty easy. Chiefs.
Yeah.
There was no way they lose to the Texans. And then Ravens at Bills. I don't hate Baltimore, which is going to make this next statement sound very weird. I view them as like the empire of the NFL. It's just like, you've been around for 6 movies. We blow you up. You keep coming back stronger. Like, it's just, it's not fun to cheer for them. Like, nothing against Lamar Jackson. It would be cool seeing him get his Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't like them. So they're going to keep on marching on. I think they trounce Buffalo just because Buffalo has just a few too many holes where Baltimore does not.
And also you got the big thing too, is that they keep coming back, but then they also keep losing. So
yeah, but they get like right to the finish line, which has been Lamar Jackson's whole thing. But
I'm talking about the Empire specifically, because you brought up that reference.
We're going too into the metaphor. And before people go, no, the Cowboys are the Empire. I mean, you got.
Are they?
You got to rise up to be,
more like Watto trying to like.
Damn it! I was trying to do something with Tatooine. Damn it! I was gonna go Jawa route. Damn it! Why does everyone hate the Ewoks, but no one hates the Jawas? That just occurred to me.
Maybe because the Jawas are junkers, and that's how we got R2-D2. Whereas,
meanwhile, the paintless little murders, cannibalistic teddy bears. Yeah, that's great. I guess they're not cannibalistic.
No,
they were gonna eat them.
That's true. They're gonna cook them and eat them. Yeah,
but
that's not cannibalistic, though.
No, I know. That's why. No, I know. That's why I was rescinding my cannibalistic.
They're eating other Ewoks. Then that's a big problem.
God, there's like a Saw level Ewok movie that needs to be made.
Does it need to be made? I don't think it does.
I'm like Tommy Wasso, whatever. That's gonna be my room. I'm gonna make it happen.
Wasso,
whatever. Where were we at?
You're making all of your playoff picks.
There's Vikings. Right. So anyway, the evil empire of the Baltimore Ravens. Wow, we fell down a rabbit hole there. The evil empire of the Baltimore Ravens keeps storming through Buffalo just like it was Hoth. So, too soon?
Never too soon.
Okay. In the championship round, I have the Vikings at the Lions rematch. And I think, again, going to be closer than last time, but I'm still taking the Lions to go to their first ever Super Bowl?
First ever Super Bowl.
Like, they've never even been to a Super Bowl. Oh, good God. So, congratulations, Detroit fans. And then Ravens at Chiefs. I think this is finally the year where Lamar Jackson gets over the hump, beats Patrick Mahomes, Ravens, Lions, Super Bowl. So, your narrative is, hey, both of these sides are great. I'm talking Empire versus the ultimate rebel.
That is true.
That's true. It would be awesome. And maybe it's just wishful thinking. I think Detroit has just enough firepower to overcome Baltimore. Detroit goes wild with their first Super Bowl victory.
Wow. I will take that.
Over under 5 shots of Eminem at the victory parade.
That should be fun then, because Kendrick Lamar is doing the halftime show. So yeah, if Eminem is there, then that'd be fun to see too. But I don't know if he'd be part of the show, but just whatever.
He would definitely be in a box. The NFL will get him a box.
He'll be at the game. I just meant like whether he'd actually perform too with Lamar. That's what I was talking about. But
nah.
I really doubt it though. But yeah, that is our, playoff picks for the entire NFL playoff situation there. So yeah, we're excited for all the weekend games happening for Wild Card Weekend. But guys, just because the fantasy football season is done, this is a little bit of a bridge episode here as we get to all of our draft stuff, because that is now where all of our focus has starting to shift. Tad has already started doing his scouting. I've started to do some scouting as well. We'll be doing our Senior Bowl live stream on February 1st, guys, so make sure you're tuning in for that. That should be a lot of fun for sure, as always. But yeah, guys, just because the fantasy season is over doesn't mean that your fantasy season may be over, because we talked about our good friend Jason Davis of the show. He plays in a Dynasty League. If you're playing in Dynasty League, or if you're playing a league where you can make, draft picks for future years or whatever, it's like, you need our help possibly. So that is where you interact with us on our social media handles. You got us on Twitter. You got me at Decide23. You got Tad Decide94. You got the show handle at The Decide Guys. And of course on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So that is where we can help you with, keeper decisions in case you're playing in a keeper league. If you're starting a league for the first time, we can help you with some ideas as far as how to set your roster settings and your league settings and all that stuff. We can help you with all that too. As mentioned, if you're playing in a Dynasty League, you need to prepare for your rookie draft. So who are the guys that you want to target there? So we'll give you all that advice, guys. We may not cover it on the podcast now, but we'll still give you all that advice on the social media handles there. As mentioned, we'll be shifting into all draft coverage. So that is where you can interact with us as far as like guys you wanted to scout, guys you want us to focus on. We'll get your opinions as well. Everything there when it comes to the draft, you can interact with us there as well. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast, where you listen to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so it's always up to date with our YouTube videos as well. And guys, please make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network, because, yeah, as mentioned, they're going through some wildfires there. May not get as much content from them as you may like because of all the things that they're trying to do, saving their families, trying to get into safe locations there. So we wish them all the best there. Hope everybody's okay there. But just, yeah, they're still your number one source when it comes to all your LA football needs. We mentioned the Chargers and the Rams are both in the playoffs, so they definitely will get you as much content as they can before the weekend games. And, of course, you got transfer portal madness going on with the USC Trojans and the UCLA Bruins. They got you covered there as well for sure. But, guys, it's not just football anymore. They got you covered when it comes to the NBA and MLB as well. So they got your Lakers and Clippers coverage in the NBA, as well as Angels and Dodgers coverages coming up in just about a month or so, when we got pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. So yeah, guys, baseball season is right around the corner. LAFB Network has you covered for sure. But guys, to everybody who's supporting LAFB Network, who's supporting us by, subscribing to the podcast, by watching our videos, by, interacting with us on social media. I mean, just anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast, we cannot thank you enough.
Speaking of transfer portal stuff, I did not know this. Did you know Miller Moss decided on a new school?
I saw where it was, but I'm already blanking on where it was.
He's going to Louisville.
I also saw too that my Malachi Nelson, who was formerly of USC, right?
Yeah, he's at Boise State.
No, he transferred again. He's now at UTEP.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Buddy. Fall from grace.
Now at UTEP.
And Carson Beck, officially a Miami Hurricane.
Is it official? I don't know.
It just went official like 2 hours ago.
Wow. Okay. Yep. We'll see how that plays out.
So, but you know who did know Miller Moss picked his new school? That is Al Rowe over at the was it Go Trojans podcast? It's been a while since I've done a
Salute to Troy podcast.
Salute to Troy podcast. Much more respectful.
Yes.
But he knows way more about college football than I could ever hope to. And he is great listen, especially because, USC is heading into a big year. And by USC, I mean Lincoln Riley. So definitely get all the hottest USC takes. We're also going to do some guest spots on his show regarding some draft stuff moving forward, favorite USC prospects to look out for. So be sure to keep an eye on for that. And like Amir said, to piggyback off of something, with the draft, guys, you want us to scout? That's good. I'm going to take it up a step. If you hit us up on those socials right below, that's what it feels like when you time it right. That's so cool. If you hit us up at any of those socials with segment ideas, it's real easy to talk about the draft until we get to about mid-March. We got another month to go and nothing to cover. So we need ideas now. Now is the time to drop them so we can prep for them. So be sure to send that in. And speaking of guest spotting on other people's podcasts, latest episode of LA Confidential, yours truly, and him, we are going to guest spot on LA Confidential. I guess recording is tonight, which probably means it drops tomorrow is my guess.
This weekend, yeah.
Yeah, something around that. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Chauncey is always a great, host, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And, like Amir said, keep an eye on everything going on in LA, especially with, how many people we have based there. So please, now more than ever, stay safe, everyone.